Dr. Heather Deniston with Well Fit and Fed, and this is the Junk You Should Know show. And today I have my very, very good friend, Chris. He is in his kitchen where he actually spends a lot of time. And you might remember that handsome face from a show a long time ago. I don't even remember how many years ago that was. 2 years? How long was it? 2 years. We did an avocado eggs Benedict. Well, we didn't. He did, and we filmed it. And it was an avocado eggs Benedict. If you did not see that one, I'm going to put the link in the comments below because it was amazing. And it was one of our most watched shows. So be sure to click on that after you're finished watching us today. But I want to welcome Chris. He is going to be telling us about veggies today, which I'm very... What's that?
I'm very happy you asked me to do this because what's more exciting than veggies on a Wednesday morning? It's going to be great.
There literally isn't anything more exciting than that. So I'm super psyched about that. As always, we're going to just thank the sponsor real quick. The sponsor is The Change Cave, a 12-module online learning institute that's a membership program. And it's awesome because it's only $23.99 a month and it's cancelable at any time. So for about the price of a t-shirt, you can get super grounded in all wellness principles. You can set some goals with the group. You can actually get to the finish line of some of the aspirations you've had over the last little bit. We do it all together. So bulletproof resources, an incredible community, and great accountability. Definitely click the link below in the comments for more Change Cave information. And I want to just thank the Change Cave again for sponsoring the show. Yay, Change Cave. And I also want to encourage you guys, share this show. Cree is so awesome. He's an untapped resource. And well, I already have him booked for 2 shows, and we're going to learn so much. Today, we're going to just be talking about veggies. On a show in June, we're going to be talking about steak. And then what he doesn't know is I'm going to probably ask him back for a couple other shows too, if he's willing. So thank you so much, Chris. I really, really appreciate it. And thank you, Catherine, who's doing the filming today. Yay, wives who work from home. That's awesome. Okay, so let me just put up, because I love my little agenda thing, we're going to just put that right up there. Veggie prep skills that make you look like a pro. That's what we're talking about today. And we already talked about the Change Cave. We talked about sharing this show. So half my agenda has already been said, and I don't even get to put it up there. But what I want to know from you, Cree, is a couple things. Cree is Chris's nickname. Sorry if I slipped that up. He's a good friend, and we get to call him Cree. You don't. I do. Okay. Number one, I want to know how you got an interest in cooking, because you are pretty passionate about it. You love to cook. You've not had any formal training, although you're pretty much an expert in my eyes as far as producing these incredible meals that I've seen over the last many, many years. But how did you get interested?
So first of all, I grew up in a house that loved food. My mom was a great cook, and she came with sort of a Midwest sensibility. So a lot of meat and potatoes and feeding 2 hungry boys. So we always had good food around, and we never went hungry. I actually started cooking at a summer camp, when I was 14. And there was a guy there who had been a chef in a number of restaurants who was running the food program. And he kind of brought me along and taught me some things early on that made me realize how approachable cooking was, and that it wasn't something that was sort of mysterious and for somebody else to do, but that you really could take control of your own food and feed yourself well with really not a whole lot of effort.
That's awesome.
And I hope we get into that a bit today, because I think one of the things about prep skills is cutting down the time it takes to eat really well. And I think people will be surprised at what they can do for themselves in a short amount of time. It's not the burden or mystery that I think it seems to some people.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And we talked a little bit about that pre-show, sort of the overwhelming concept of like, well, I wouldn't even know what to do, and that looks so complicated. And so we definitely are going to get into that. And the reason we decided on this topic is because how often do you have a fridge full of veggies and you're like, I don't know what to do with them. I don't know what to do with them.
Let's just stand here and watch them slowly deteriorate, and then
and then we'll just throw them out. Yeah, and so this is going to be great because Chris is going to take us through some basics of how to deal with those bags of veggies in your fridge very quickly, efficiently, and for a multitude of different options. Right, Chris? Okay. We've kind of covered this, but I want to just say it again, and that is the whole idea about being competent in this kitchen is finding ease, finding a way to just make it as smooth and systematic and efficient as possible. Yeah. And so let's talk about some basic veggie skills, if you will. Okay. And so if you could share with us some of your favorites and best secrets on veggie prep.
Okay, so there's really two groups of vegetables that are the base of so much cooking in the world. MIREPOIX, which is simply a French term for carrots, onions, and celery. And then what's known as the Holy Trinity in Cajun cooking, which is green peppers, onions, and celery.
Oh!
Those groups serve as a base for so many things, soups, roasts, the list goes on and on. And once you get used to just quickly putting those things together, throwing them in a pan or whatever it may be, you're shortcutting that time to get to the end of a good meal. So as an example, like a roast chicken, onions, carrots, and celery on the bottom of a pan with a chicken on top and some salt is a pretty good dinner. And you have done very little work. So I hope what people take from this is, A, how can I get fast at this? I don't have time to really jump into culinary school. I just want to make decent meals at home. And then actually the nice skills to get it done. So I'm just going to show you a few short things, especially with onions and peppers, that'll shortcut that time so you're not standing over onions crying in your kitchen.
And can I just say that the pepper skills that you taught me a couple of years ago, like made chopping up a pepper just boom so fast, whereas it used to be like, oh my gosh, they're a little bit, tricky to work with. So I would love it if you would show that and whatever else you've got there. And I love the whole thing. And I want to show my little banner thing again here. Look at this. MIREPOIX, MIREPOIX, MIREPOIX. I didn't even know what that word was. So thank you for mentioning it. It again is a combination of carrot, celery, and onion. And it is French originally, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
The word
and
is
there's
French.
variations on that too in Spanish cooking. That's really the base of paella. For sofrito, it's called sofrito, which is just a variation on that. But once you get comfortable with the idea of A, you can cut it quickly, and B, you really can't screw it up. That's the other thing that's really important. You can't mess this up.
Yeah.
If you have one carrot, a little bit of celery, and an onion, that's it. There's no measuring, there's no thinking. It's just you need to not have any fear about what you're doing in the kitchen. And if you have turnips or fennel or anything else in your fridge that's just laying around, cut it up and throw it in. It'll give some different characteristic to what's going on, but you're not going to ruin it by doing any of those things.
I like that. And I think that is a big part of getting comfortable with cooking is kind of take the emotional fear out of it and just say the absolute worst thing that can happen is you might not love the flavor. You might not want to do it again. But the more you try and mix and with different flavors and stuff, the more comfortable and creative you can become. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, great. So what do you got for us? What do you want to show us?
So let's start with the pepper. Okay. And I'm going to have my trusty assistant here focus down.
Perfect view. I love it.
Two things real quick. Number one, get yourself a decent knife. I've had this knife since I was 14.
Oh my goodness.
And I bought it under the advice of a guy I worked with. And he said the same thing to me. He said, go get a good knife. This is a Henkel's 4-star. I think you can get them for like $59 on Amazon.
Really?
If you take care of them, they'll last forever. It's a really simple knife, but it's really comfortable in my hand. And find what works for you too. This may be a little big for some people.
Okay.
For me, this is my favorite. I've always used it. I have a bunch of other knives, but I always return to this one.
That's awesome. And I'm literally going to go buy that knife because I am so tired of the knives in my kitchen not working well. So I will put a link in the comments directly to a knife or knife similar to that so that we can allow our lovely listeners and viewers to have access to that great knife too.
Yeah. And then the other thing is keep your knife sharp.
Okay.
Knife will ruin your experience in the kitchen. So make sure your knife is sharp.
Makes sense.
Okay. Here we have your standard pepper. peppers have always been kind of a pain to cut. And then I was actually shown this tip by, I think, my wife's brother, who also loves to cook. And this is a number of years ago. But this is the only way I cut peppers now. So the top where the stem is, bottom, all you're going to do, if you can get on top here a little bit, just if you see that, I'm just going to go right through the top of the stalk, like this. So that's what I'm left with.
Yeah.
You see that okay? And
Oh yeah, it's a great view actually.
Okay, I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. So I basically got a channel from top to bottom. I can see through that.
Yeah.
Okay, and all I'm looking to do is dice this quickly, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my knife, and I'm just going to cut around the core that's in there. And I can do that by just slicing through. I've opened up this.
Yeah.
You can see that. And now I'm just going to gently unroll it like this as I go. And what I'm left with is just all the seeds, all the mess, and I can just set that aside.
And there are audible gasps across the nation right now because mind blown. Hashtag mind blown. Go.
This is a bit of a funny shaped pepper, and you can do this in either direction. On a taller pepper, I like to cut it vertically. Yeah. And what I mean by that is I'm going to take, can you get a little bit higher up here? I'll just stand up at the top and face down. So you can
there we go. Nice top view.
Okay, so proper knife skills, A. Put that knuckle out there as a guide, and my blade's going to ride on that knuckle with my fingers totally tucked in behind.
I love that. That's helpful. Yeah.
Okay. So all I'm going to do to dice this pepper quickly is I'm just going to go, and I'll show it two ways. I have another pepper. Okay. I'm going to cut it in half first. I'm going to turn it sideways. And now I'm going to cut a strip, another strip, another strip, another strip, another strip. I'm going to turn it one more time. And we're just going to go. All right, so. That's
beautiful. That's amazing.
And that really, like once you get used to it, that should be 30 seconds. In fact, I'll do this next one in real time. Okay.
And can I just stop you for a minute? Because you may be going back to it, but I am too excited to share this with the viewers. That top part that you popped off, I don't know if y'all saw that, but the stem popped out, and show them what was left, please.
So, and I actually just was cutting it up a little bit there.
Okay, but that's okay.
It's a round ring. It's essentially, you're left with this perfectly round ring.
It was perfect.
Like this.
Yeah, that was great. And then you guys can use that top part that a lot of you just chuck out because the stem's still attached to it. But because Chris cut just right, that the stem pops out, the ring is left, and you can use that as more of the pepper meat. So that's awesome.
You'll have these little odd bits and ends.
Yeah.
So just same thing. Keep things.
Just go down a little bit, Kath. Yep, perfect.
Just keep things going in the same direction.
That's great.
And that's your pile. So here, let me do one in just real time.
Okay, let's get a good shot of that. That's great. That's a nice pepper.
Okay.
Here we go.
I'm not going to try and rush. I'm just going to cut it at a normal speed.
Okay.
Just like that over there.
That is awesome.
And this pepper's a little bit taller than the other one. So like I said, just keep things going the same direction. This, this technique is useful for whatever you're doing. Whether it's just something bigger or like for Chinese cooking where you want strips of things.
Yeah.
You're basically just stopping short. So what I'm going to do is bundle these up, turn them sideways.
That's awesome. And I love what you just said too, Chris, is that, halfway through a pepper, if you're only using a half pepper, chop the rest of it and, throw it in a bag in the fridge or whatever, so that you can just grab and go for next meal or for a snack or whatever. So I think it's...
Yeah, the other thing too, Heather, is I've seen people do this a lot. This is a mason jar. You can buy them at Goodwill. You can buy them new at your grocery store, just in the canning aisle.
Yeah.
I've seen people keep veggies in their fridge, like ready to go, lid on,
Yeah.
just lined up, which is great. And I do this a bit differently. I keep things in plastic bags, but a lot of times in the morning, we've got 2 boys, and instead of handing them Pop-Tarts and pushing them out the door, or people eating out of their glove box on the way to work, you can make an omelet. Like if you're prepped and ready to go, you can make an omelet in the morning in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So just having things pre-cut, pre-sorted, ready to go makes your life a lot easier.
I think that's so great. And I love the mason jar idea. We still want to try to limit plastic use as much as possible. I use Ziplocs as well, but when I get the opportunity to throw it in glass instead of plastic, so much better. And you can, it's so easy to see and maneuver in your fridge. So I love the idea of the mason jar being kind of a storage facility for all of your chopped veggies.
Yeah. So let's move on to onions.
Okay.
And I think people will appreciate this a lot. I pulled the skin off this onion.
Okay.
Normal white onion. So step 1 to cutting these quickly. So here is the root.
Yep.
Okay. So you're going to cut right through the middle of the root.
Okay.
To start. Just like this. That's your half, right?
Okay.
Set one side a half. Excuse me. 1/2 aside. And then we're just doing a quick dice.
Okay.
Quick diced onion, okay? So then you got the tail here. Just take that off. Set it aside.
Okay.
So now the grain of the onion runs this way.
Yes.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, and so each that's basically this little piece right here.
Yeah.
So what we're gonna do, and this isn't even that nice of an onion. This came out of the old fridge. So all we're gonna do is just slice through a little bit. And I've taken it to just like right this point right here.
Okay.
See that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna do another one on top. Just like that.
Okay.
Okay, and now I'm just gonna take the tip of my blade. I'm gonna go into the onion, and I'm just gonna pull down towards me. Same rule with the fingers. Get your fingers out of the way.
It's a good thing.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it's just coming this way. So now I'm gonna turn this whole thing sideways. And it's just magic, right?
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
So fast.
Oh yeah.
And as you get little bits here and there. This is actually a really soft onion, so it's not a great example, but the technique is the same.
Oh yeah, no, that's fantastic. And that I learned something new. I did not know that. You haven't shown me that one yet, Chris. That's great.
That's how I get invited back.
Yeah. You withhold some of the tricks.
Withhold the good information. So that right there, that's the better part of a cup of onion. It's a half an onion.
That's great.
And
that was seconds. Like that took you no time at all.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great.
As a rule for mirepoix,
Yeah.
if you see it in a recipe and it calls for like add a cup of mirepoix or 2 cups of mirepoix, whatever it may be. As a rule, it tends to be 2 parts onion, 1 part celery, 1 part carrot, and that really comes from 1 onion, 1 big carrot, and 1 big stalk of celery. Oh,
I love that. That makes it so simple. I didn't know that either. So typically 2 parts onion, 1 part carrot, 1 part celery, and that really is an onion, a big carrot, and a stalk of celery, right?
Right. So don't overthink that. Like if you're making a base of something, just grab 1. You can go 2 carrots and 2 celery. I mean, vegetables are different size, right? So don't overthink that at all. It doesn't matter all that much.
Okay. Good.
So celery, pretty simple. It's just the same rules, right? Half. These are just celery stalks. Take your blade right down the middle. Remember, knuckles out, fingers in. Celery is fun to cut because it stays still and blades go through it easily.
Yeah. That's excellent.
So that right there, you're pretty much on your way. And then the last thing you need is just a carrot. Half, half,
And I noticed you put, I've only just started like where you put the flat side down. So like the big thing is to not have your food moving all over the place while you're trying to cut it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just kind of if you think about it, reducing things by half each time.
Okay. Yes.
It's like folding paper.
Yeah.
In the same way, right? So now we've got basically 8 pieces from that carrot. Now we're done.
That's great.
Okay.
Okay, and so how, we know the ingredients of a mirepoix, but how actually do you prepare a mirepoix?
Well, you can do it to actually start cooking it. What you really want to find is something heavy. Cast iron is perfect for, especially if you're going to do any kind of roasted meat or something that's going to cook a long time, where you want really nice, even heat over a long period of time.
Okay.
Cast iron is great. Cast iron is cheap. Just as an example, this is a Lodge 10-inch cast iron pan. I've had it for I don't know how many years. If you take care of this stuff, it will last forever. And then once you really get it seasoned, it'll cook better than any nonstick stuff that you have.
Oh, that's great.
In answer to your original question, just oil in the pan, a little bit of olive oil, and drop this stuff in. Let it start. You can start with the onion and let it go until it gets translucent.
Okay.
You'll notice that it gets kind of glossy. Throw everything else in. Set some meat on top and throw it in the oven covered for a couple hours.
Okay.
That's dinner.
Okay, great.
And we can at a later time talk about like specific recipes that use that. But if you go online, if you look up mirepoix and what recipes contain that, it'll open your world to a whole number of things.
That's awesome. You were saying earlier, like if you know how to do a mirepoix, like you would tell me what you were saying, because there was like so many things you listed, and I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about that you could use that with that. Yeah.
So like one thing that I've run into occasionally is like if we cook for friends or if I have friends over the house, that feeling of not knowing where to start and being intimidated by the entire process.
Yeah.
If you can just get this down, you're cooking. Like this goes in a pan, you're cooking, you're halfway there. So if you add chicken and a little bit of stock and let it go for a long time, you can add herbs of any kind that you grow in the garden, that you buy at the store, and a little bit of salt. That's soup.
Yeah.
You know, it's endless.
It's great. Yeah, I know we've used it for all different kinds of soups. And then you also mentioned like you can throw it in a crock pot and
right. I mean, I know one thing that you love is short rib.
Yeah.
And so cooking short rib or roast, like chuck roast, you
Yeah.
can make like shredded tacos or something like that the next day or that night. If you make a base of this, just on the bottom of like a Dutch oven, something like that, piece of meat on top, it's just providing moisture and flavor throughout the cooking process, keeping things nice and tender. So 3 hours with a short rib on top of it, a seasoned short rib, ends up being perfect for a meal.
That's great. And I also make my own bone broth, and I will throw that whole situation that you have on your cutting board. I'll just scrape that all in and cook it with the bones as they're, and it just gives so much better flavor to bone broth. And so I love that too. That's fantastic. That's so helpful. I love the knife skills. I love the knuckle thing, pepper trick. And just sort of the way that you methodically go through the chopping process, it makes it way faster, more efficient, and flashy to watch if you got folks around you having a glass of wine. You look pretty fancy. You do look like a pro.
Drinking plus showing off plus knives usually equals some sort of injury. So keep that in mind.
Okay.
It's also super impressive to other people.
Note to self. Yes, I will keep that in mind. Okay. So if we don't use them, you throw them in the mason jars in the fridge, ready to use at any time. You'll throw that in an omelet for the kids in a couple of minutes as well, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then I'll also keep like jars of those chopped veggies and just sprinkle them on lettuce with dressing I made on Sunday that lasts the whole week. And you have a salad in like 22 seconds. And
Right.
so, yeah. And so that goes back to our beginning thing is like, how do we create ease in the kitchen so that you actually follow through on cooking whole food for yourself and your family?
Yeah, and let me throw one more thing out there to
Yeah.
people as well. Especially if you're just starting out, like let's say you're buying your first good knife, you're trying to really take a step towards this is just as fundamental in the kitchen, right? Practice at a time when you're not under pressure to get something done.
Yeah.
Grab a cucumber or celery or something like that at a time where you are relaxed, you've got time, and you want to just get better at it.
Yeah.
And get used to the flow of like how the knife sits in your hand, how that feels, how to keep your fingers out of the way. And so that you're not associating that time in the kitchen with stress and the pressure of like, I got to get a meal on the table and we got to run out the door and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Practice on a Saturday at 2 when there's nothing going on.
I love
just
that.
Give yourself a little bit of space.
Yeah, it gives you confidence, and like any skill, the more time you put into it and kind of consciously are practicing it, you're going to just get better and better at it. I think that's really, really good advice. Thank you. Well, Chris, thank you so much. And Catherine, a steady hand, Kath, thank you so much for videoing. That is so great. And so I do appreciate you coming on. I know we'll be seeing more of you, Chris. I really am excited about the steak show we've got coming up in June. Yeah, and that'll be great. And I'm going to post the avocado Benedict that we did a couple years ago in Chicago. It was amazing.
There's bacon and hollandaise. So I don't know what people want. We get past
that. Yeah. Definitely tough to outdo, but I think today we've learned some really practical and applicable skills that we can take, and I love that, and I learned some stuff today too, so I so appreciate it. Hey guys, make sure you share this show, share it to your page, share it to groups that you have, and we would love to see you again here next week. Friday at noon PST is when this show goes live or airs every week, every single week, no matter what. And this week I'm actually on a plane to Atlanta, so we did pre-record this one, but tune in again the following week. We'll be back again. I can't even remember what the show is the following week, but it doesn't matter because this is the best show ever. So Chris, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. And
Thanks for having me.
Okay, and we'll see you again soon, okay?
All right, take care.
Goodbye, everybody.